Prime Minister Najib claims trial to 4 charges. Attorney General requests trial conduct in English. You're watching News on 2 with me, Renee Fong. Good evening. Former Prime Minister Datuk Sri Najib Razak pleaded not guilty today in the Kuala Lumpur High Court to 3 charges of criminal breach of trust (CBT) and 1 count of abuse of power over funds totaling 42 million ringgit belonging to SRC International Sdn Bhd. On the first charge, Datuk Sri Najib was accused of as a public servant and agent, namely the Prime Minister and Finance Minister of Malaysia, Advisor Emeritus of SRC International Sdn Bhd (SRC), and in those capacities entrusted with control of funds belonging to SRC International, totaling 4 billion ringgit, having committed CBT involving a sum of 27 million ringgit. On the second count, the former Premier was charged with control over SRC funds totaling 4 billion ringgit, having committed CBT involving 5 million ringgit. On the third count, he was charged with being the Prime Minister and Finance Minister entrusted with SRC-owned funds of 4 billion ringgit. Datuk Sri Najib, who turns 65 on July 23rd, was brought to the High Court after the case was transferred from the Sessions Court earlier today. All the 4 charges were read out to him and he pleaded not guilty to all of them. Former Prime Minister Datuk Sri Najib Tun Razak is set to go on trial for 19 days beginning February next year. Kuala Lumpur High Court Judge Datuk Muhammad Sophian Abdul Razak set the trial dates as February 18 to 28, 2019, March 4th to 8, 2019 and March 11 to 15, 2019. The High Court set August 8th for case management. Judge Datuk Muhammad Sophian granted Defence Counsel Tan Sri Dr Muhammad Shafi Abdullah's application for an interim gag order prohibiting the media from publishing items or commenting on the merits of the case. The gag order includes any coverage by any media on matters relating to the 4 charges against the accused, with the exception of reporting facts on the case. Attorney General Tommy Thomas, meanwhile, objected to the request, citing freedom of speech. In addition, Thomas said the defence would have to make an official application for the gag order, which the prosecution will be vigorously objecting to. Judge Datuk Muhammad Sophian set bail at 1 million ringgit for all 4 charges in 2 sureties and ordered the accused to surrender both his passports. Datuk Sri Najib's lead counsel, Tan Sri Dr Muhammad Shafi, said his client would only be able to pay half the sum today, while the remaining 500,000 would be settled before 3 p.m. on Monday. Judge Datuk Muhammad Sophian approved the application. Speaking to the press after posting bail, Datuk Sri Najib said he believes in his innocence and this was the best chance for him to clear his name after being accused and slandered so viciously. He added that if that's the price that I have to pay after serving the people for 42 years, so be it. A spokesman for Datuk Sri Najib claimed the arrest was politically motivated and the result of political vengeance by the ruling coalition and said the allegations against him will be contested. Datuk Sri Najib, 64, was questioned twice last month by the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission (MACC) over 42 million ringgit, $10 million that was transferred from SRC International Sdn Bhd, the one-time 1MDB subsidiary, into his bank account between December 2014 and February 2015. Meanwhile, a planned press conference by Attorney General Tommy Thomas had to be cancelled when supporters of former Prime Minister Datuk Sri Najib Tun Razak went out of control. They chanted Bahasa Malaysia when the Attorney General spoke in English. This came after a request was made by Thomas at the Sessions Court in Putrajaya for the trial to be conducted in English. When Datuk Sri Najib was charged with 3 charges of criminal breach of trust (CBT) today. Attorney General Thomas later said he was taken aback by the aggressive behaviour of supporters of Datuk Sri Najib during the scheduled press conference. Datuk Sri Najib was charged with 3 counts of criminal breach of trust (CBT) in his capacity as Prime Minister, Finance Minister and Advisor Emeritus of SRC International, in which he was entrusted with 4 billion ringgit. 2 individuals, one of whom is a public university student, were charged in court in Georgetown for obstructing a civil servant from carrying out his duties. The accused are Kartigas, 37, and M. Nathan, 30, pleaded not guilty when their charges were read out before Magistrate Muhammad Amin Shahul Hamid today. According to the charge sheet, on June 5th, both the accused prevented a Pulau Pinang Housing Department officer, Najib Abdul Rahim, 35, from carrying out her duties. The accused were involved in a protest to prevent an operation to evacuate 7 families from the People's Housing Project, PPR. They were charged under Section 186 of the Penal Code and can be sentenced under the same and read together with Section 34 of the same Act. The duo were released on a 2,500 ringgit bail with 1 surety each on the same day. Deputy Public Prosecutor Muhammad Hafiz Hashim appeared for the prosecution, whereas V. Parthipan and Arafas Abdul Raza appeared for the defence. Magistrate Muhammad Amin fixed August 2nd as the date for case mention of the same date. Riza Aziz's stepson to Datuk Sri Najib arrived at 3:10 p.m. today for his scheduled meeting with the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission MACC and its headquarters in Putrajaya. The film producer had been at the court complex in Kuala Lumpur earlier, where Datuk Sri Najib was charged with criminal breach of trust and abusing his position as Prime Minister and Finance Minister to gain gratification involving funds to One Malaysia Development Berhad's then subsidiary SRC International Sdn Berhad. Riza is being investigated over his alleged connection to the financial scandal in which his company Red Granite Pictures had received funds originating from 1MDB. He had spent 9 hours with MACC officers yesterday starting from 2 p.m. A police officer collapsed and died after leading an oath-taking ceremony at the Pulau Pinang monthly police gathering at the State Police Contingent Headquarters in Georgetown this morning. Deputy Superintendent Ahmad Faisal Ahmad Jalaluddin, 51, collapsed suddenly just before 9 a.m. during a speech by State Police Chief Dato' A. Taivigan. Several officers and media personnel carried him to a room to give him first aid. Dato' Taivigan had stopped speaking and asked his men to call for an ambulance, which arrived shortly. Deputy Superintendent Faisal was taken to hospital but could not be revived. He is believed to have died of a heart attack. Dato' Taivigan later said that Deputy Superintendent Ahmad Faisal was a very dedicated and hardworking officer who was ever ready to serve, and he will be missed by the force after leading the State Police contingent to pay their last respects to the deceased. Deputy Superintendent Ahmad Faisal started working as a police officer in 1991 and had served in the State Police Contingent Headquarters since 2010. He leaves behind a wife and 4 children. 7 construction workers were left homeless after their home were razed during a fire in Taman Senggun, Kuching, Sarawak. Batu Lintang Fire and Rescue Station Operations Commander Anwar Shahzad Marzuki confirmed the incident took place at 11 a.m. The fire and rescue station received an urgent call from a civilian who witnessed a cloud of black smoke originating from the location. 2 fire trucks along with 16 rescuers and officers were quickly dispatched to the scene. No one was fortunately at home during the fire. Firefighters successfully put out the flames by 1 p.m. Authorities are conducting investigations to ascertain the cause of the fire. We'll come back to News On 2. Hong Leong Bank Berhad today said that it will spend half of its total capital expenditure allocated for its financial year ending June 30th, 2019, or 115 million ringgit on digital initiatives. Hong Leong Bank's Group Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer Dominic Fuda said the step is important following the increase of bank's digital channels usage by the customers.
More products and services in the online space if customers adopt it, whether it's existing customers or new customers. So it's our way of once a year emphasizing the digital capabilities, at the same time thanking customers.
Fuda said this to reporters after launching the Hong Leong Bank 2018 Digital Day at the Federal Capital. He further noted that the bank is also targeting to carry out transformation at 50 of its branches this financial year, which is expected to cost an aggregate sum of 30 million ringgit. Putra Young Berhad will go ahead and implement the 3.5 billion ringgit border protection project known as the National Immigration Control System scheme. Its Group Executive Officer, Dr. Abu Hassan Ismail, said the definitive agreement was signed during the tenure of the previous government on July 15, 2017. Speaking to reporters after a meeting with the Council of Eminent Persons at the Ilham Tower today, Dr. Abu Hassan added that for now, the company would continue to ensure that it delivered the contract on time and fulfill the obligations signed with the government.
As usual, as our contract, we have a contractual obligation, so we will continue to focus on make sure that we deliver on time and within the deliverables.
Putra Young Skins and Berhad, a subsidiary of Putra Young, will spearhead the project, which is meant to address current and future operational demands. The skin system is a comprehensive and integrated technology platform to modernize the core applications and infrastructure of the immigration system with the objective of enhancing national border security. The official quota for the Malaysian Hajj pilgrims this year stays at 30,200 people, same as last year. According to Tabung Haji Hajj Department Senior General Manager Datuk Sri Saleh Said Abdul Rahman, the quota was as set by the Saudi Arabian government, namely 0.1% of the total population of Malaysia. In a statement today, Datuk Sri Saleh said Tabung Haji denied reports of the news portal that the Saudi government had blocked or reduced the quota this year. In fact, Tabung Haji had been making close preparations, especially in terms of accommodation in Makkah and Madinah, flight, transportation, meals and coordination of Tabung Haji personnel in an effort to ensure the welfare of the pilgrims were guaranteed throughout the pilgrimage. The first flight of pilgrims to the Holy Land was expected on July 14th, while the last flight was expected on August 14th. Prime Minister Tun Dr Mahathir Mohamad has expressed confidence that relations between Malaysia and Indonesia will be strengthened further following his recent official visit to Indonesia. In a post on his official Twitter account, Tun Dr Mahathir said he was impressed by the remarkable official welcome Indonesia accorded to him. His wife Tun Dr Siti Hasmah Muhammad Ali and the rest of the Malaysian delegation in Jakarta. In a response to a post by the Indonesian President Joko Widodo on his Twitter account today, Tun Dr Mahathir said he believed the meeting has forged an accord in the effort to strengthen bilateral ties and thanked the Indonesian President. The Premier had chosen Indonesia as the first ASEAN country to visit over 2 days from June 28 after taking over as the Prime Minister for the second time following the general election in May. During the visit, Tun Dr Mahathir had a four-way meeting with Joko Widodo and led the Malaysian side in the delegation talks with the Indonesian side headed by Jokowi, as the Indonesian President is fondly called. This evening's news on 2. In our top story, ex-Prime Minister Najib claims trial to 4 charges. Join us again at 12:30 tomorrow afternoon. I'm Renee Fong. Thanks for watching and have a pleasant evening.